Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Tesla Life number 118 here on the 2nd of October, a new month already. And the dancing heads that are in the background are joining me tonight. First, head bobblehead, Mr. Russell Frost joins us from Southern California. How are you today, sir?
Greetings from the bottom left corner of America, Tesla fans. How are you today? Am I hot, Mike?
You were for a second. Right. Your initial greeting was hot, Mike.
Oh, I always wanted to sound like God, so there it is, right? I mean, hello. Anyway, greetings, Tesla fans. I hope your weather is as nice as ours. That's all I can say.
That's a tough bill to beat, but and joining us from New York City Harbor, Mr. Casey Green, as you can tell by the porthole behind him.
Yeah, it's actually Manhattan.
Okay.
We're in a hotel called The Dream, and I was attending a Microsoft event. I had won a contest, and they sponsored my trip down here. Two nights hotel stay, reimbursement for the parking garage, a goodie bag, which is really phenomenal. Included an extra pair of these headphones, but I managed to scrape the trailer hitch on entering the parking garage. It sounded terrible, and we spent some time.
A little bit too much of an angle.
Yeah. The car was fine, but the trailer hitch it didn't do so well. But we managed to have lunch on the rooftop at the venue, or around the corner from the venue at a restaurant, and found out that it was a record-setting October day here in New York City at over 92 degrees for most of the city in October.
Wow.
Yeah. So anybody who doubts that stuff is changing, I don't care whether you think we did it or not, but it's definitely changing.
Very good, very good. And last but not least, out in Chicago, who can probably give us a forecast of the weather as well, we've got Mr. Tony Schaefer joining us. How are you today, sir?
Yeah, hey, everybody. I'm sitting here in glorious, my own condo, drinking water that I had to pay for on a computer that no one gave me. And the weather here sucks.
Nobody gave me this computer.
You're a sucker,
the one that's inbound.
I know.
That's your problem. You're a sucker.
Totally. Yeah. So that's my story. Oh, and but I did eat lunch at my desk. So that's a wrap of my day right there.
Oh. Also, I must specify that Elon paid for my charging on the way in, not personally, but Tesla.
Right.
Oh no, he paid for it personally. You don't see the bill.
You just didn't know that.
You don't see the bill.
I own it, thank you too.
It's like Elon knows about all.
Remember about all expenses? That includes your charging bill.
Yeah.
It's just like Elon gets an email notification for every time someone uses SmartSummon, and that's how they know there was 550,000 SmartSummon events, because Elon just goes, 550K, guys. Come on, that was funny.
They're just individual pieces of paper, and he lays them in the inbox. He just keeps laying them in there.
He gets a printout every time.
I still wonder what they saw when we did that Blue Ridge Parkway drive with 120 Teslas charging at one supercharger. Not simultaneously, but like they queued up. Yeah.
They said, "Shut that thing off. It's
something
charges.
Something is wrong."
Well, we got a ton of news as always here on the Tesla Life. But before we get started, if you're watching now and haven't already, please press that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, start the show off happening. Help us out. Give us a hand. Well, of course, we've heard about version 10 last week. We talked about early release. And now, of course, this week, it's been released in wide release, and many people are receiving it, including our own Casey Green has received it already, correct?
Yeah, I got it the day after I was whining about it last. And
yeah, that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
The squeaky wheel, right?
Squeaky wheel, baby. So I did SmartSummon in my parking garage, and it did an interesting job. It obviously knew it was indoors, and it didn't try to jump, so that was good. But but my neighbors drive on the whole a little insane in the parking garage, so I didn't want to have it like stopped in the middle of the lane, so I ended it early and got in and drove off. You might have it on my Twitter. I did the put it on mute though. A successful smart summon while picking up our third U-Haul trailer. My wife was in the car and she videoed the empty chair and the steering wheel doing its thing, and it did it safely. It looked like it was going to hit a U-Haul van, and then at the last minute it turns.
Jeez. Well, that's one of the comments from what the smart summon tsunami that has happened over the past week is the amount of people doing dumb things with smart summon.
I didn't do anything.
I didn't say it was you.
There were a bunch of dumb people out there.
I have certainly seen a number of different videos that have been posted. We've seen an accident already, which of course was not Smart Summon's fault. But we've seen a close accident. We've seen a number of different things that have happened in these videos. But it certainly is something that people are. You've got to use things smartly. Like you really can't just go use this willy-nilly, especially at this point. I think there's still some smaller bugs to work out, but I don't know. I don't think that this is. A lot of people, of course, are anxious to try this new feature they've received, and they are trying it everywhere. But for goodness sakes, before you understand what it's going to do and react, maybe try it in a parking lot that's basically empty, for the first couple times, just to get the feel of what this thing does, how it reacts. And let's not go to your local department store on Saturday afternoon and decide that, I'm going to try it out for the first time now.
Right. You should also.
That's perfect. Do that. I think everyone should do that.
You should probably also start out with a. Where was I going with that? Start out with, instead of the Come to Me feature on the first page, start out with the Smart Summon feature and look at the map that the car has projected for where it will go, so you can get a feel for the kind of paths that this thing chooses, and make sure that you're not putting people at risk. The accident we saw, the collision we saw probably would have hit the other car that was backing out at the same time, and the one I saw with where the dude was crossing the artery to the parking lot. Maybe also choose one where people aren't flying through like it's a racetrack.
Yeah. There certainly is some issues with that. What happened at Casey's location? We had a light go out or something.
Yeah,
Actually, that looks pretty good now. That looks really good.
Just by the glow of the screen.
Yeah, the glow of the city behind you. That's really good.
We'll save power.
So other things that have happened with version 10 is a couple surprises. Spotify has been added in North America. So that's something that was not expected in this particular release. And the other surprise was Hulu showed up as an option with Netflix and with YouTube. Hulu showed up, and I don't know if this is the case everywhere, but Hulu showed up in Canada for one day and then it disappeared in some cases.
They did like a Hulu tease?
Yeah.
That's great.
Right.
So I haven't confirmed this with, I got it, I got some information from one person that indicated that it had shown up, because I haven't received it yet. So they had said that Hulu was on the screen. They showed a picture of it, and then later the post in the day was, Hulu's gone. So we'll have to see if that is across Canada or just for that particular person.
Well, for me, Hulu is back. It never went away once it got there. And I'm having a problem with Spotify. I can only listen to like 10 to 30 songs on a playlist before it just gums up.
Okay. All right.
But it sounds great, and it has way more variety than Slacker when it is there.
And I also understand, again, because of the early release, that in some cases people are saying that Netflix and YouTube actually were working over cellular at this point in some cases.
Yeah, everything's working over cellular for me right now.
So obviously that's going to change.
I hope
because if you get 500 million people that are sucking up bandwidth like mad through the cell carrier, I am sure that that's going to prompt that to be cut off. But it was announced earlier. It was supposed to only be over Wi-Fi. So we will see if that actually happens. Should. It's probably just an oversight at this point, or trying to get something in place first and then fix up some of the things as they go along, most likely.
Yeah.
Mark, did I hear that you didn't get V10?
I did not get V10 yet.
Why does Elon hate Canada?
I don't know. No, he just
you do have full self-drive,
he just
or you
hates
have enhanced
smart.
autopilot?
There's many Canadians that have received it.
Oh, okay.
Are you full self-drive, Mark, or enhanced autopilot?
I am not. No, and that's
why.
probably why, because the full self-driving people get it first.
A whole day early. Thanks, Elon.
That was sort of a joke by innuendo you just made, but we'll leave that out.
So let me ask about the Spotify thing, because I know that Spotify has
really
okay. I know that Spotify has a free version and then a paid version.
Yes, you have to have the premium version
for it to work at all, or can you listen with
if
commercials?
If you sign in with the free version, they'll tell you to buy the paid one.
Can you listen to it for free with commercials?
Right. Well, because Elon's paying for the bandwidth.
He's saying, can you log in with the free one at all?
No.
You cannot.
Right.
So you try to log in with your free account, it'll tell you need the premium account.
Correct. Because the same way that they pay for our Slacker accounts here in the North America, they pay for your Spotify account in Europe, and apparently that level is required for both services for whatever reason to actually function. And he's only going to give us one account, so you got to supply your own Spotify account.
Okay. And that also holds true, of course, for Netflix and for Hulu, too.
Oh, yeah. But those
you need to have your own account. The only one that will basically work for free, I guess, would be YouTube.
Right. And in fact, I can sign into that and see my likes. I can get my my commercial-free status, all that stuff. But I found that the Hulu and Netflix both offered me 30-day trials when I signed in from the car.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess if that's your one device, then you're good.
Yeah. Huh. Okay.
I'm trying to figure. I don't want to keep
I
this
don't
going too long. I'm just trying to figure out why you need to have a premium Spotify account to use Spotify in a car.
Well, maybe it's not set up to work with Basic. Like, they may not have the provision for the commercials. Because in Europe, all they do is just open up the European code. In Europe, all of them are premium because they're on the Tesla account.
Right, because Tesla paid for an account for each car, similar to how they pay for a Slacker account for each car here.
Exactly. And so maybe they just didn't build the software.
But Russell's point is that there's no reason why it couldn't work. It's just that they are blocking it. They're blocking it.
Yeah, you'd have to add in commercial handling. You'd have to add in all the stuff that
comes with free. If it actually is only going to run on Wi-Fi in the future, which is what we expect, then really no one else is paying for extra bandwidth. It's running on Wi-Fi. That wouldn't matter.
That was the other weird part, is once you go premium, you have better bandwidth songs coming through rather than the free account. So that means that he's paying for more bandwidth.
Well, sure. And you can use significantly more bandwidth, which is sort of the backwards part of that.
That's what I'm saying.
Limited.
Yeah.
If you're on a free account.
Yeah.
So if you're
unless maybe the audio team is just like purist and you must have a greater than 64 kilobit song before we'll play it. Or maybe that wouldn't be a good.
You're reaching really hard.
I would just as soon stream the free through my phone and my phone through the Bluetooth and just be done with it.
Which is what he told people to do with some obscure audio reading service they'd asked for. He's like, why don't you choose your phone?
And he said that about Spotify previously too.
Yeah,
he did. I didn't catch that one.
Service Audible?
It was not Audible.
Oh,
yeah. That'd be cool if Audible comes built in.
Yeah. So as this rolls out, we'll see more and more people trying it, and of course, the video game Cuphead was thrown in the V10. You certainly do require a controller to play Cuphead. Because of its complexity, and you can't even play it on screen. You need a controller.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And Russell, you're looking perplexed. Is there a problem?
I'm always perplexed. This is the state that
you're looking a little bit more perplexed than normal.
I'm actually. The truth is, Mark, you busted me. You totally carded me. I'm just trying to do some other stuff on the computer, and it was fighting me, and I didn't.
Okay, all right.
My apologies.
I'll leave it alone. That's fine.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. What are you really doing, Russell? Not paying attention. Not paying attention.
Checking my emails. Why?
Well, you know.
Yeah, so version 10 rolls out. More and more are getting on board, and we got an email that Russell, an alert from Elon that Russell mentioned about Elon receiving actual how many smart summons have been done to this point. Apparently, over 500,000, 550,000 have been done.
Bullshit.
Oh. Well, I mean, the car collects all sorts of telemetry. Mine tells me the temperature and the speed and direction, the roads I'm on. Who knows what tells Tesla?
Yeah, I'm sure a lot.
A lot more than that, yeah.
That goes back to the mothership. Let me tell you.
Oh, yeah.
Which is why I never towed with the Model S, because I'm sure the Model S would go into Model X tow mode and immediately void the warranty back at the mothership.
That's right. So beware, people that are trying to get around these things. The mothership knows all.
There was one guy who was poking around with the Ethernet port, and he got a message on the screen and said, "Stop that."
Right, that was a couple years ago, wasn't it?
Yes.
Stop that. Oh man. Next story, Elon emails, this story will come into play at the end of the show as well, about the company getting close to 100,000 car deliveries in Q3. This was an email that was sent out to employees to spur on the troops for the end of quarter rush that happens every quarter at Tesla. This quarter, no exception. But again, we'll get to the end of the show, and there'll be a little bit more on that. So we'll jump ahead to the next story, which was the Supercharger network is apparently tops in UK, according to UK Tesla owners. So as you probably know, in the UK, they've got a little bit more of a more robust charging system there. We've got some third-party chargers that have set up different fast chargers across Europe. There's a couple of different networks that offer that ability, similar to what happens here in North America with maybe Charge America. There are some alternatives to the Tesla network. Well, apparently they put a survey out in the UK about what network works best for you, and the Supercharger network from Tesla, of course, came back in top spot. Not a huge surprise based on its, people having an actual Tesla car. That would probably be the number one reason why it's easy. There's no worry about payment. You just plug it in and everything is done for you. And of course, being tied into the Tesla network, they know the status of chargers, if they're full, if they're empty, if they're broken, how far they are away. All that stuff is done for you. So certainly it makes a lot of sense that that is considered top charger in the UK.
You know what they don't know? Is when somebody's blocked it with a trailer.
Ah, yes.
They could probably infer that, though, if they still see that you're plugged into the trailer while you're plugged into the supercharger.
How would they know you're plugged into the trailer?
The trailer has lights.
Oh,
and they
as
put
soon
it
as
into
you
trailer
plug.
mode.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah. They probably do that too. Yeah, that makes sense.
It turns off your autopilot. It stops the auto height adjustment. It does all kinds of stuff.
So definitely they would know. Absolutely. Yeah. And of course they know what charger you're plugged in, so they know the orientation of your trailer too.
Yes.
So yeah, and then you would get on your screen, stop that.
Yeah, they would especially know if they see that you have a preference for pull-in spots while you're towing. Oh, this guy is towing a big trailer.
I think you're inferring way too much.
Your volume is so hot. But no, not at all, because when I show up, all of a sudden the spots next to me are unavailable until I leave.
Right.
Yes.
Next is from the Netherlands. In the month of September, a new record was set in the Netherlands for vehicle sales. And Tesla, they sold in the Netherlands. They sold more than 5,000 Model 3s alone in that month, and of course that is a record. As of September 27th, they said they've delivered 6,790 cars total in Q3, with still a few days to go at that particular time. And at one point, they had even moved 541 registrations happened in a single day. So it's something that obviously the Netherlands is embracing the Model 3, and it's selling wildly there. Another side story to this in the same region is Norway reported back that this past month in September, they had sold a total of more cars than any passenger gas or diesel cars together were sold by Tesla. So beating all regular ICE cars in sales in September combined. So another great number coming from there.
Okay, so, that's pretty incredible right there.
Yep.
The sheer number, yes.
So being able to push it that far gets you getting you beyond what ICE cars actually sold as a complete number together is quite an achievement. Certainly, we've always heard that Norway is a hotspot for EVs, and it will continue to do so with these type of numbers as well. So great to see. Talk a little bit about, we already mentioned about the SmartSummon already, but let's talk a little bit about space.
Yes.
The final frontier. So we've
Is this that show?
I love that show. This is that show. So what we had just this past week was Elon made I guess a yearly statement that comes from SpaceX. In this case, happening in a field in Texas, where they are building the next generation of the Starship. I guess this is Mark II, the second version. We saw the Hopper video previously, testing in Texas. Well, they have built, I guess, at this point, it's a full-size, not a model, it's a working machine with 3 Raptor engines in it that will be the actual Starship. Certainly, it may have a booster rocket underneath it. That may be an addition, but this is the, I guess, the capsule and the human cockpit that will sit on top of this rocket, and this is the one that will sit on top of the said booster to get out of Earth's atmosphere to get into space, so that it's got the ability to go interplanetary. To the moon or to Mars or to other destinations. So
okay, you're gonna have to. I tried to turn my mic down. I hope that helped.
It's much better.
You're gonna have to help me with this, Mark. You said this is the rocket, the final rocket.
This is the final rocket shape. Yes.
Okay, but
now
this
is a test rocket. So this rocket will be tested in most likely a number of low atmosphere maneuverability, short runs into the atmosphere to move around, make sure all the rudders and other fins on this rocket can direct it. And of course, they're testing the engines as well.
Yes. So after
I was really
flight,
questioning some of these solder points.
She doesn't look all that great up close in the picture, does it?
No.
Not particularly well. So I was just starting to wonder if this was a rocket or a corn silo.
So all right. Once it completes its 20-kilometer flight, they will move on to a prettier one that has more fit and finish. This one is a test flight Article 1. We saw the Starhopper last week. Well, week before last, so really recently.
Yep.
Yeah, and it was similarly rough.
Weld joints.
Yes. So I'm curious, did they Does it have a cockpit yet, or is it just like
this one does not have a cockpit? But what it does have in the capsule up top, where those above fins are, it actually has 4 or 5 Model S battery packs from 100 DSs or something. It's got these battery packs up top for ballast, or for balance, that it sits up there. They need some top heavy items, and it's also going to be powering those fins to make corrections to its ascent and descent in testing. So they're using the electrical power from these battery packs that came from Model S's.
It's a lot of power.
Yeah.
It's a lot of air, but that's a lot of power.
Well, it's a big thing. The picture that Tony just showed you, it's 9 meters in diameter. That's
excluding
27
the wings
feet.
And the fins and all that jazz.
That's
like
a
just
27-foot diameter, and it's 50 meters tall. So that's 150 feet tall and 27 feet wide.
Like you said, it weighs what, 120 tons?
It's a massive piece of metal.
Yes.
And then they did have some shots earlier of the 3 Raptor engines that they have mounted.
It was beautiful.
So Elon went on to speak about it, and in typical Elon fashion, it wasn't just, we're going to get this thing to fly and do a few tests and build another one. It was, we're going to build a fleet of them. We're going to get this thing in orbit in 6 or 7 months on version 3, 4, or 5.
Yep.
And we're going to start shipping people to Mars. Like it was so over the top that we expected. Like I did, I expected, because that's how Elon talks. When Elon talked about a single gigafactory, it wasn't a single gigafactory. It's we're building 5 across the world. We're covering it all.
One for each continent.
And similar, his SpaceX conversation went along those type of lines as well. It was inspiring to hear his plans. And of course, a year ago, the thing behind him didn't even exist. So
the launch facility didn't exist.
Yeah,
they didn't have the
concrete for it at that point. So they are definitely taking leaps and bounds. And the other thing that was interesting, and you can watch the video that they put up on SpaceX, certainly if you wish, but one of the key mentions that he said was his new philosophy is that if it's long, it's wrong. And if it's, how was the other part of it? It was if it's something, it's right. What was it? If it's speedy, it's right. It rhymed, anyways. It was, but his philosophy is to keep it simple on all of this stuff. If they're talking about how if they're making adjustments for the rocket and it's complex, his thought is to not make those adjustments, to go back to the drawing board and make a more simpler solution that's easier to implement and less troublesome. It's not, well, we've got one department that says we want to have this, and that causes all these problems. His thought is go back, redesign it properly so that it works for the function it's required to, and it's smart and easy and simple to do. And that's what he's pushing on.
Yep.
Do you think they could possibly round the top a little more so that it looks just a little more phallic? Is that something they could do? Do you think they considered that?
Well, considering
I'm sure Elon did.
They had this mock-up completed in 7 days. I think they could do that. Yeah, probably.
All right, great.
Yep. Exactly.
I mean, This is the guy whose largest factory in the world looks like a child's phallic drawing.
Anything's possible.
I'll take it with you on that one, because I don't know a lot of children that draw phalluses. So
you must have gone to grade 10 middle school.
Yeah.
Oh man, yep, we're off the rails, people.
Thanks, Tony.
I got nothing.
So I watched this presentation from the car while blocking many superchargers, and the wind sounded so much like it was raining outside of my car. and I kept looking, and it was not raining, and because they had for a while before Elon actually showed up on screen, they just had the audio, and it was a little confusing because the audio is good.
Yeah, well, and during his presentation, Elon kept alluding to the high-speed winds that were going on, and I think he was a little nervous because he kept looking behind him, and of course, SpaceX has had an issue with wind in the past with some of their creations. So
it blew over the nose of the Starhopper.
That's right, bent it all back and blew it off the top of it. So Elon was certainly aware of the winds, and he mentioned it a few times during his speech.
It delayed many launches. It destroyed a launch, I think, didn't it? And it destroyed many boosters coming back. So
yeah,
he and the wind go a long way.
He was certainly concerned with that. And again, this new Starship that they're going to have a number of iterations with to do these tests. The quick hop, the 20 kilometers up, the and eventually an orbiting. Excellent. Like just this thing is so large that the actual picture that Tony showed, this thing is going to come into the atmosphere basically on its belly, taking away the kinetic energy being sucked into and slowing it down with the wind in the atmosphere. And it's going to float down as close as they can to the surface of the Earth and then do a maneuver where it thrusts sideways and up so that the back end swings underneath it and out pop the legs and then land. Just like the Falcon 9s do. But this is a much bigger rocket. And it's going to be impressive to see this thing try to do that maneuver. They say that most likely they'll be trying to maneuver many, many feet up in the air to attempt the first time. As they get it down pat, then they'll bring it closer to the Earth to do that sweeping maneuver to land, because they want it to absorb as much kinetic energy as it can on the way down in order to slow the speed of the vehicle, so they'd have to use less rocket propellant to perform that sweep under movement. So very interesting, fun to watch. I would suggest you click on the show notes and take a look yourself.
I think if they don't do that maneuver, they could start rotating it, and the fins up front could possibly dig a tunnel under Las Vegas from one end of the convention center to the other. They could have that done in like 45 seconds.
I'm sure
while blowing up the convention center.
Well, yeah. Well, you might have some problems, but man, that tunnel will be dug quickly.
Yes.
So this will be interesting to watch. I forgot where I was going with that, but the maneuver, certainly they need to practice that. But
can you imagine living in that little Texas town that is like, what, 2 miles or 3 miles from the actual landing area? Like,
no.
They rejected his purchase offer.
Watching that in your backyard, going, look at this huge thing coming down. I hope it makes it.
Yes.
I hope. Yeah,
I hope
this rocket full of fuel doesn't crash and incinerate all of us.
And of course, SpaceX has presented buyouts to all the people in this little town. They're trying to buy the entire town. They're offering people 3 times what the home is worth, apparently. And of course, any deal that someone tries to do, you've got half the townspeople that are taking the deal and getting out, and you got the other half sticking behind because they're saying things like, I've lived here all my life. I don't want to go anywhere else.
This is one of those things that is so inexplicably bizarre to me that I'm sorry. Maybe one of you rational people can explain it to me. And I'll give you an example. Back in the olden days, this dude named Walt Disney had a really successful theme park. But he was really space limited because he started it in California. And there was already crap there. And there was a lot of good reasons for him to build that. So when he wanted to build Disney Park number 2, he very quietly bought a shitload of land.
Yeah, in the swamps.
Now, Texas isn't exactly Rhode Island.
No.
I've recently spent 2 days crossing Texas. It's a very large place. So what I don't understand is, why did he build the spaceport of the future next to a village?
The proximity to water.
Why?
This thing is 9 meters diameter.
Unlike Disney, he didn't have the money that Disney had after building their first theme park and having investors already behind them to the point where they were financially secure in many different manners. Disney had more money.
Yeah. But land is cheap in the middle of nowhere, Texas.
But you need middle of nowhere with access to, so the barges can unload your ginormous.
Yeah, it has to be water. It can't be inland.
I see. Hence the Boca Chica location.
Yeah. It's got to be coast. Yeah.
Wait, so this thing's going to land on barges?
Actually, they will have a super.
That.
Yeah.
There is going to be that option to land on a ship as well, or a built-out like oil derrick type landing space. So that's also been thrown around. So it may be something in the water, it may be mobile, it may be stationary, it may be land.
So the drone ship that went home a couple months ago, do you think that one might be getting kitted out to be big enough to handle this?
It can't be the current ones they've got. It's got to be a larger drone ship than what they're currently using for the Falcon 9s. Definitely.
Even if they were to expand the deck.
I don't know for certain, but just based on the size of the diameter of this thing, I got to believe it's got to be bigger, and I got to believe it's got to be more buoyant than the current ones.
Oh, it's got to be buoyant for sure.
Yeah.
And like even if they expand it just enough, it would have to be precision because I think it's huge.
Yep. Well, that's enough about space. Okay, we'll go on about space another day. What I wanted to jump to next was the state of superchargers in Canada.
I was just talking to some folks about that.
I wanted to show you this new updated map that's showing the construction process. And I mean construction because, of course, the blue dots mean that they're just permits. The cones indicate that there's some form of construction happening at these different sites. So all across Western Canada, from the existing network that starts basically in Calgary, all the way through Regina, Saskatchewan area, Winnipeg, into Northern Ontario. There's a bit of a hole here in Northern Ontario, but then down into all the way into Ottawa, and of course connecting with the Southern Ontario that's already built. We've got a ton of superchargers under construction. And this is from supercharge.info that you can follow this information at any point. And what's really cool is that you can click on any of them. So this Quispam Sis in New Brunswick here, I can click on it. I can click on discuss, and it will then jump me to a page.
Talk to it? Oh.
And this page will show people that are in the area that are updating.
Oh.
So I can go to the last page, for example, and people have inserted comments about where it's at. They've put photos in place that you can click on and actually see what's going on at the site. So fantastic networking available for anyone to follow the superchargers where they're at by just a simple click of any of the cones. And you can even get involved in the discussion if you want and put in your own postings about what you've seen or photos that you want to upload about those particular stations. But fantastic to see that the Trans-Canada Highway is now starting to fill in. And man, we might be able to travel from east to west coast Canada by the end of the year or a little further.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah. So in that gap, are you expected to go really slow, or are they going to put another one in the middle that just hasn't been permitted yet?
I would imagine there is going to be another one right in that whole area. But
maintain speed below 45 miles per hour to reach destination.
Exactly. And another area of interest is here in the Sault Ste. Marie area of Ontario and Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Where you've got a city.
You gotta get your passport out.
You've got a city that is named the same thing on both sides of the border. It must be hell for mailing something there. But what's interesting is that they had this blue dot in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, already in place, and then the Canadian one started construction after it was placed. And of course, you know, in crossing the border, you're paying a fee. So it you need a passport to get a charge. If you were driving up the Trans-Canada Highway, you'd have to cross into the Michigan to get a charge to continue going up north into Canada. Mm-hmm. So obviously they're trying to mitigate that by on the borders putting 2 chargers on both sides. So
in the parking lot of that library.
Yes.
They should put a supercharger on Mackinac Island for Vice President Pence.
Oh, indeed, yeah. Although he was riding Chevys.
Does his batteries run down that quickly?
Even own a Tesla?
Yeah, I was going to say, although he wouldn't be caught dead in any green tech.
Oh, I thought you were insinuating he was a robot and he needed to be charged, because I don't know.
Being a Hoosier, I can tell you he's not human.
Yeah,
he's right. He brought his entourage onto the island with all of their vehicles, and it really upset the folks there because
there's no vehicles on the island, and he brings an entire motorcade with him.
Yes.
Tony's got a story for us next about a little barbecue that was going on.
Barbecue?
Yeah.
So here it turns out that let's see, is that working? There we go.
Yep.
Oh,
yes.
Whoa.
That looks like a Model 3 to me.
So this carrier was driving along, and it was a double carrier, so there was another carrier in front and a carrier in back. Something happened on the back that started this fire. Now, we have 2 reports that have come out about the fire. One was from Elon, who said the fire had nothing to do with the Tesla vehicles. The other was from the official government agency that said, we do not comment on investigations that are still undergoing. And we've heard this before, of course, when there was I'm going to say situation involving a Tesla, and the first thing Elon does is tweets out, well, it had nothing to do with the car, even though the investigation wasn't over yet.
Eventually they end up agreeing with him, though.
So this is from Auto News, and it says the Tesla vehicles were destroyed as the truck carrier caught fire in Nevada. So yeah, here you can see 5 Tesla vehicles and a Subaru were on a trailer were destroyed.
That sounds like a joke.
It was that damn Subaru.
Yes. Yes.
So 5 Teslas and a Subaru walk into a bar.
Yes. We'll have to work on the punchline for next week. Yeah, I don't know where to go with that. And and it says it was a complete loss. And it does say the fire, the cause of the fire was related to the carrier truck, not our Teslas. Tesla said in an email statement. And then they came back and said that we're not commenting yet. But somewhere in here I forgot where it does say that the driver was able to jump out and decouple the carriers, so that the cars on the other carrier were not affected. So there were no injuries. So I mean, that's the upside, is no one was hurt. It just shut down this section of Interstate 80 west of Carlin, Nevada for a little while.
So in the southeast, the barbecue joints tend to catch fire a lot at night. Similar?
Could be something there. Could be. Yep.
It's possible they're the lithium-ion batteries they're using to cook their barbecue is doing a thermal runaway.
Yeah,
I was referring to
those are the new
events.
barbecue places. They're using lithium-ion to power the pits.
I just got a text from Elon that says, you know what? This is all bullshit. That was a Raptor engine test. Okay? So I'm just saying.
Well, I mean,
wow.
BMW is catching fire unprovoked. What's to say Subaru's not doing the same?
We will keep our eye on the story, and I'm sure that the National Transportation Safety Board will come out with some sort of a comment as the investigation wraps up.
Yeah, they'll kick Tesla off the case, and then they'll come up with something later.
Well, we'll report
That's
back.
What happened last time?
Yes. Another story that we're following is a couple of enhancements that Casey should probably know about a little bit. Better heating and cooling seats Tesla's working on that are more efficient with the energy that they use to cool and heat. So Casey had mentioned about getting perforated cooling and heated seats in his Model X. Well, it looks like they've gone back to the drawing board on those particular seats as well, and are starting to come up with some better, I guess, ways to heat and cool those seats. This was a story in Electric that talks a little bit about the efficiency that these seats would use, the amount of energy to heat or cool them. So kind of interesting. Obviously, we don't have a lot of information on it, but I thought I'd bring it up based on Casey's comment many times about his heating and cooling seats that he loves.
I love it. So the cooled seats feel about 2 to 3 times as good as the original, which isn't saying much. And so now, like, if you have some sweatiness and you hit the cool button, it'll actually cool you off. But they're loud, and as loud as it is, you can only imagine that it's wasting a ton of energy inside the seat back there. It's got at least 2 fans, if not 3, and I have a feeling that I haven't read the article yet because I was busy with other stuff here in New York. But I can see ways that they could improve what's there, and it might explain part of why the one I have went away.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
When there are, I've been in many cars with the cooled seats, the vented seats, and the first time I ever used one, the noise was just, and I didn't know what it was, honestly, because I turned it on and it took a little bit, and then there was just this like humming, buzzing something, and I was just looking around, like I thought a window was open. I'm like, what the hell is that going on? And then I realized, oh my God, that's the chilled seats, and that literally made me want to not use them any longer.
The noise, exactly.
It was that bad. It really was.
So we'll have to see when this third iteration of seats comes out, and if they're better. Another improvement that Tesla's been working on, just a quick one, is about the liquid cooling connectors for superchargers. So not only are the hoses liquid cooled in the case of V3, but this is an improvement on the actual handle and connector that goes into the socket on the car for charging. They're pushing that cooling from the hose into the actual plastic housing of the mechanism that the connector is part of. So again, another bit of efficiency, getting the temperatures cooler. But what this article talked about was from Teslarati is that they said that this might work into the transport semi. It may be something that's something is for the use of the semi trucks, because of course they're going to be pushing much more energy in the mega chargers, and they need all the cooling they can get because they're pushing so much more than what the standard cars are getting currently. So something to watch for in this particular patent. There's a few drawings you can take a look at with this link to the Teslarati article.
The part I didn't really understand is why they included a drawing of Luke Skywalker's right hand. I mean, what does this really have to do with?
Well, everyone's a Star Wars fan, Tony. So you know, you take it when you can get it.
Okay,
and I had suggested that we actually see these on version 3 already. It's just they finally got the patent to go through. Because when you think about it, version 3 is really just a mega charger that's been split up for 4 cars.
Right.
Yeah, but it also could just be for the one nozzle on the truck, because that thing is going to be taking in stall A, B, C, and D at once.
Right. So it'll be interesting to see what the mega charger actually is made up of. We know that the truck is now going around and basically brings a box with it that multiple superchargers can plug in with extension cords to feed the truck energy to get it on its way. We don't know what the mega charger is going to be made of. It's just speculation at this point, but certainly we can guess that it is going to be pushing much more voltage into the truck than what's being pushed into a single car.
Yes.
So we shall see. Another story of interest is the old Gigafactory held a job fair recently. And this actually combined in the news that the Model 3s that are currently being shipped to China, that are being made in the US, those orders are going to be stopping the 13th of October. So you can no longer order a Model 3 standard range that will be American built. So that, of course, infers that they're going to be starting to push out standard range cars from Gigafactory 3. And with this addition of the job fair, as they're filling positions, and of course, coupled with the test runs that we've been seeing going on at site, the aerial photos of the new superchargers being built at the south end of the facility, many things are all combining with some leaks to indicate that we're probably looking at a mid-October start of production, or test start of production at least. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting times in China, and those cars are apparently getting set to start rolling off the line. So with the cutoff of the orders, I think that's certainly big information that would lead you down the road that they believe they can start making the cars shortly if they're not going to be shipping them anymore from the States.
I think they've got a lot of work and retooling to do there at that Gigafactory, because this picture they have here, the steering wheel is on the wrong side. So they
well, you know, those are early test ones, Tony, right? Like, okay. You know, they don't necessarily get everything right for the first couple.
Got it. You're off a few inches. It's now the ones that they mess up, or they can use them for
other
balance.
Side of the monitor. Yeah, just a bit. Just a bit.
Okay. Yeah.
And our last story of the evening is, before we went on air, we heard about the release of Q3 numbers, and Casey's going to fill us in on what the actual Q3 numbers were.
Model 3 news. So Tesla managed to produce for Q3, they produced a total of 96,155 vehicles. They managed to deliver about 97,000 of them, which is far short of the 115,000 that Elon had internally emailed everybody he was trying to do. But not far enough that it is that big a deal, because this is yet another record quarter for Tesla. So let's break this down a little bit now. And Tesla stated it produced 16,318 Model S and Model X during Q3, while Model 3 production was at 79,837 units, with a total of 17,400 Model S and X and 79,600 Model 3s delivered in the third quarter, which is phenomenal, because yet again they managed to deliver more than they produced. But that's, again, we talked about the shipping lag overseas and on the trains, etc., etc. And what was even further more interesting to me is they told you how many of them were leased. So you had 15% of the Model S's and X's were subject to lease accounting, which is where Tesla has to report the income over time, even though they got the check for the bank right up front. And for the Model 3, it was just 8%. Yeah.
So, a record Q3, almost 80,000 Model 3s produced in the quarter. 79 what? 79.8?
79.6.
79.6. Okay. Mm-hmm. And getting close to
79.8 built. 79.6 delivered.
Okay. Yes. And we're getting certainly closer to that 100,000 K that Elon sent out in an email to employees earlier that we spoke about in this show at the beginning. Getting a little closer to that 100,000 mark, which will be another record, of course. But great to see that the numbers just keep going up, and the deliveries on par.
It would have been even higher if it weren't for that damn Subaru.
Yeah.
Could add another 5 to that total. Yeah. Well, and as Casey mentioned, how many times has that truck gone back? The trailer was not available after the fire.
And also, how many other trucks got stopped in the traffic jam that were also headed that way?
It's just a colossal economic downfall. The entire road was shut down.
This is why everybody missed their target.
Everybody was caught up.
Yes. Yeah. But it's like we said last time. Every time that you see all this doom and gloom about how Tesla missed their mark, they didn't reach their stretch goal, they blew away their last record. Focus on the good stuff, guys.
Yep, that's famous last words for speaking to someone on Wall Street.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Wall Street's notoriously optimistic when people don't hit their guidance. They love it. Apple, Apple's going out of business.
Yeah,
but the thing is, when you hit your guidance, they still punish your stock. Well, you didn't do it enough for the way we wanted. Yeah.
Yeah,
but you fire 10,000 people and they're happy.
There you go. Yeah, doom and gloom of Wall Street.
Do that every year, and they're really happy.
Yeah.
And you're out of business at one point. But we digress. That is it for news this week. How about some shout outs? Casey, how are those videos coming? I know you're stuck in New York City, but how are things going?
I promised you a video, and I gave you a video. So what I put up was a video of me smart summoning the Tesla while my wife was in the car, scaring the crap out of her. Because the car was parked. I went into the U-Haul, did the paperwork, blah blah blah. Walked out of the trailer. Yes, this is the right one. And I, boop, called the car to me, and she was still inside, and the car was in dog mode, so it didn't set the alarm off on her. And next thing you know, she was at the trailer with the car, and we hooked up.
And then,
we hooked up the trailer to the car.
PG show, Casey. PG show. Yes.
My channel is completely PG, and so you can find that at youtube.com/Casey Green. That's KACEYGREEN. I apologize in advance that the video is in vertical video, but when I put some of my own recordings up there, they will be back in landscape.
Very good. Very good. Mr. Frost, any shout-outs for the evening?
Not a thing. If you follow us on social media, well, then just stop listening. But if you don't follow us on social media, what the hell's wrong with you? Mm-hmm. Facebook.com, The Tesla Life, #1. And of course, at The Tesla Life on Twitter, where Mark posts news constantly, updates, pictures, all sorts of amazing stuff at The Tesla Life on Twitter. You need to follow us now and maybe suggest the show to your friends.
Very good. Very good. Mm-hmm. Mr. Schaefer, any shout outs this evening?
Oh, no real shout outs. That's it. Hockey season is starting, so that's
when is the Hawks' first home game, Tony?
Well, they are actually playing the Philadelphia Flyers in Prague on Friday.
So you're on your way over there, right?
Yeah, right after What Drives Us, I'll be boarding a plane and flying over. And then, believe it or not, they have 9 home games in a row to start the season.
Wow.
It's crazy. It's like 7 or 9.
Extra bonus for going to Prague.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, payback.
Yeah.
Very good. If you haven't already, please press that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up here at the end of the show. If you've got a show title you want to submit to us, do so now, and we'll pick from the entries and put that show title on the show.
I have a show title.
Okay.
It's The Subaru's Fault.
Live from New York. Yeah, it's the Subaru's fault. It's actually probably pretty funnier.
Yeah, and Casey's doing his SNL interpretation.
See it there?
There you go. Right. Yep. Same thing. All right, guys. Thanks for watching, and follow us next week and find out what's going on in the Tesla life. Thank you, Lee Moon, for the music.
Yes, thank you, Lee.
Good night, everybody.
Go, Lee Moon.